Hey everybody, welcome to episode 83 of the all JuveCast, and we're going to be coming at you after the victory, the 3-0 victory against Fiorentina here, and I've got Graeme joining me. Graeme, it's been a while, my friend. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks. Glad to be back on.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on, and never a shortage of topics to discuss when it comes to Juventus. And yeah, this past week seemed to be a little bit of a wild one, and we'll get into all that. But we'll start off with this match here. Let's get let's start off the hop with the lineups. Um, so for me over here, it's a 3:30 a.m. match. And it's not it hasn't been the best when I have to get up at 3:30 a.m. to watch Juve. It's not always the best, but I saw the lineup and I was actually pretty pumped about it. I thought, you know what, this will be a good lineup at least to wake up at that kind of hour to watch. What were your thoughts when you saw the lineup, especially coming off the tough loss against Napoli?
Well, I was happy to see that it was going to be a 4-3-3, and it might sound a bit weird for some people, but I was happy to see that HDR was not starting because if Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo, if they all start, Matuidi's going to start in the midfield. So because he didn't have those three up front, you were pretty much guaranteed Matuidi wasn't going to be playing. I was pretty satisfied by the midfield. I think that's our best midfield that we could put out at the moment.
Yeah.
And it was good to see Douglas Costa as well starting. We've been wanting to see him for a while. And during the game, I thought he was linking up very well with Cuadrado. I mean, those two were just brilliant on that right-hand side.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was a solid lineup. That's definitely our midfield three that we need to go to for sure and build off of. Costa, yeah, it's nice to see him start. A lot of people wanted to see Costa, Dybala, Ronaldo, because there hasn't been a lot that even I could think of that we've got. Maybe a couple samplings here and there, but really, no, it would be interesting. But I was totally fine seeing Higuain up top there. Let's get to the match itself. I mean, right off the hop, you could tell. You know what? We all wanted to see a strong Juve and the signs of intent and intensity out of the start, and we got it. I mean, it was like a minute and a half in, there was a hell of a passing sequence, and we just stormed up the pitch. But again, final ball wasn't where it needed to be, and we cut out. But yeah, I think it went one of our defenders, either Sandro or Bonucci, to Ronaldo, one touch pass into Rabiot, and just right up the field. Final ball wasn't there. 5 minutes in, a nice ball over the top to Higuain. His shot ended up getting blocked, but nice to start seeing some of those stretch passes. It's something I've picked up on over the past couple matches now, as we're starting to try and stretch those the field there when we have it. And that might have been something that caused Fiorentina to kind of take a step back. Because it's been a few matches now where you notice early on, we start looking at those long balls, and maybe we're just trying to get them to, deepen their line a bit. But yeah, interesting to see. 9th minute, great ball movement into Costa in a 1v1. He gets the ball. The ball ends up getting in front. Pjanic doesn't even make contact with this ball. Drops down looking for a foul. I don't know what the heck's going on. But
I think
nice build up
I think
though.
I think what happened. I think what happened with Pjanic, the way it looked to me, it looked like he actually kicked the Fiorentina player. It looked like he tripped over him. It looked like he missed the ball. It was quite hard to see with the replays,
Yeah,
like
the replays I was seeing, that's what I initially thought. I was like, oh, it looks like he just probably like kicked that guy. But then I was looking at this angle, and the replay they showed me was from the opposite side, and I couldn't quite tell. It looked like he just literally just trying to draw a foul. Like it looked like there was barely any contact, and I didn't see his feet hitting it, but I could have missed it. Maybe that would have made the most sense, because I would like to imagine Pjanic being able to at least make contact there and put it in. But great build up, right? Getting the ball out wide.
Definitely.
Costa 1v1, and then something that we need much more of, the overlap. coming from the fullback and Cuadrado making that deep penetrating run. We need that. We need our fullbacks overlapping and getting there. That's how we're going to get these balls in dangerous places, right? But yeah, we're about 10-15 minutes in. This is how we're going. What are your thoughts at the 10-15 mark? I like the intensity. I thought we were like pressing hard, and yeah, I was pretty happy with the start. What were you feeling about 10 to 15 minutes in here, Graeme?
I mean, I thought it was positive play. We looked like we were going to give Fiorentina a tough day. I was trying to think what time it was actually there. It looked like we were going to give them a tough game. As you said, like at some point, Fiorentina, they must have maybe got scared a little bit or apprehensive, and they just thought, we'll sit back, we'll absorb this for a while, and we'll see where it goes. I felt we somewhat struggled to go through the middle. It was very compact in the defence, like especially inside Fiorentina's penalty area. And we would go out wide, but I thought Cuadrado and Douglas Costa were linking up very well. They always looked like a threat. I think we got a few corner kicks as well early on. So obviously we were causing a problem for them if they're kicking it out for a set piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very positive early on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good to watch, and I didn't mind that it was 3:30 a.m., I liked it. 21st minute, Fiorentina starts to push back a bit. There's a shot coming out wide, gets deflected by Chiesa. A very, very nice save from Szczesny. It looks a lot easier, I think, watching it, but it was a very, very good save. And then they continue to press a bit. He makes another one right after on a driven ball. And then Fiorentina plays a very, very dangerous ball off that rebound. But luckily for Juve, nobody gets to it. A little bit of a scare there from Fiorentina, pushing back a bit. We get to the 26th minute, and we were able to get the ball just top of the area to Bentancur, who drives a nice shot, a little too close to the keeper, but that's what I want. I want to see the midfielders getting involved and taking shots. Rabiot took an opportunity from just outside the area too. Both, shots, a little too close to the keeper, whatnot, but I want those guys ripping those shots, because if we can get our midfield involved in that top of the box area, that should draw guys out, and then you could start slipping balls in behind to like Costa, Ronaldo, Higuain, Dybala when he's out there. So we need that. We need our midfielders out there, and we need them shooting, because if there's no threat there, the defense is going to be happy to sit back and continue to just devour Higuain, which he was in this one. We were unable to get him involved early on, and that actually stayed true throughout the match. But positive signs from the midfield. You talked about it on the lineup, that those three guys need to be the guys. So it was nice to see that. In the 37th minute, we actually work it into the air. It falls out for a volley from Pjanic. Again, getting involved, getting higher up the pitch. He rips it, and it appears to strike the defender's hand. The ref goes to VAR, calls the handball. Ronaldo steps up and buries it. 9 consecutive games with a goal. Third time he's done that in his career, and he's just tied Trezeguet's mark for Juventus.
Phenomenal.
What's that?
Phenomenal. It's just amazing. Like when you look at the overall statistics, I'm trying to remember what the statistic was. I think he scored something like 50 goals in so many games since he joined Juventus, and we're only halfway through his second season. Yeah,
he's the quickest to hit 50 for Juve. But yeah, this was awesome. He is just automatic from the spot. Yeah. I mean, unreal. But again, this goal comes from us getting those midfielders involved, playing it in that area, but taking what we get. Is if they're going to give us the top of the area, if they're going to just really devour Higuain up and try to give a lot of attention to Ronaldo or whatnot, that's what we need to do. We need to get the midfielders involved, all of them, not just the two Mitsalas, but all three of them. So I liked what I saw. We got the 1-0. It's halftime. And yeah, I mean, Juve's been the far better side. I was happy with what I was seeing. Again, Fiorentina was in an absolute shell, but that happens to Juve, especially at home. That place has been a fortress for us, and teams, they lock it down. They try to lock it down and take what they can on counters for us, and try to build what they can. But I like the intent. I like the drive throughout the first half. Did we generate a lot of chances? Not a lot, but there was some new generation that we were talking about with the midfielders getting involved higher up. And I think if we really committed to getting the overlaps from the fullbacks, it could be much better. So I think Sarri's got some work there to do with the Metsalas and the fullbacks as far as getting the fluidity there, because that's where I feel we're the most stagnant. And to be honest, that's what we're going to need to be fluid, because that's what teams are going to give us. The middle of the pitch has become far too congested because teams know that's where we're going. So we need it to be fluid on the outsides. But I liked the first half. I mean, I like that we were trying to get Costa in 1v1 scenarios where he's the most dangerous. Again, just need to get those fullbacks supporting properly and not afraid to commit and get down there. And that might require getting those Metsalas to hold back a bit. So maybe we do start pushing with Pjanic through the middle and kind of scrap this Regista thing out of our brain. But I want to get your thoughts on the first half. I thought it was great.
I thought it was a positive first half. I mean, in the opening 10, 15 minutes, you could see what Fiorentina had set up to do. Fiorentina would be very happy with a repeat result from the previous meeting. No. They would have loved to have taken a point away. And as soon as we have that, it's up to Juventus to go and break them down and attack. The only issue was breaking them down through the middle. So we would go out wide. It wasn't a problem because Cuadrado and Douglas Costa were linking up very well. They were connecting well with each other's passes. They were always a threat. And as soon as Douglas Costa gets the ball, he's got the dribbling ability to get past a man. So I thought it was a good first half. And just to slightly go back to what we were talking about a minute ago, what was your thoughts on the penalty decision, the handball? Did you think it was a penalty? Or?
I think it was a penalty.
Yeah, same, definitely. It's just I've seen quite a few people saying it was a soft penalty, but in today's game, that's always a penalty because it's not like his hand was at his chest. His hand was out from his body.
Yeah. And
as soon as that happens, it's always going to be a penalty. That's just the way the game is.
Yeah, I thought that's got to be called because it's outside of his frame, the framework of his body, and I mean it's out there.
And that shot was hitting the target, so that could be a goal scoring opportunity denied.
Yeah, no, I was perfectly fine with that. I thought in general the ref was allowing quite a bit to go, which is it is what it is. But I was kind of happy with it. But the reason I was happy with it was because Juve, I feel, and I've felt like this for a while, they just lobby too much sometimes.
Yeah.
And we need to just really keep that focus and not worry about what we can or can't control. That's why you have a captain. He can make those suggestions, recommendations. He can approach the referee and have those discussions. But in the middle of play, throwing your arms out, yelling, freaking out, which, you see Pjanic is the most guilty of it all the time. And I'm like, get your damn hands down and keep fighting and play through.
You gotta play to the whistle. You can't just stop because you think you've been fouled.
Exactly. And Pjanic isn't the only one by any means. Guys are going to lobby for calls, but I just feel like we need to this is a game. You're going to be lobbying for a call on a team that's completely parked the bus on you since 15 minutes in. Just keep going. You've got them under wraps, right? Eventually, those calls are going to come. But that's why you have your captain. Bonucci did step up to him after Bonucci got his yellow card and said, hey, because there was a shocking challenge. I think it was on Cuadrado that didn't get a call. And they came up the other ways. It forced Bonucci into a scenario to take his challenge. He got his yellow, and then he made it known because the play carried on for quite some time. because Fiorentina got advantage out of it. They came down, and then we were going the opposite direction. Ball went out of play, and then Bonucci got his yellow, and then he approached the ref saying, well, look, that whole sequence started because you missed a shocker on Quadrado, right? So,
well, I think what that whole scenario was, we should have got a foul on Quadrado, and Bonucci realising we were going to be getting, a counter-attack against us. That was just a professional foul.
Yeah.
So I think he was more annoyed that the referee didn't call that and allowed the attack to continue. I think that just really irked him, because he was probably expecting, I'll foul this guy, I'll take the yellow card, but it will stop the play. And it didn't stop. The referee he allowed quite a lot.
Yeah,
I think he's got a reputation for that. I'm not sure what his name is, but I heard that quite a few times during the game, that he's got a reputation.
Yeah, but it's just one of those mentality things Sarri's going to have to work on too, is the lobbying for, like just in certain scenarios, I get it. But when it's like constant, shut it down, play play to the whistle, especially when, you're allowing, like Pjanic, you're a midfielder. You can't stop, throw your arms up, and like you got to break down the play if that play's coming right back down our throats, on a counter. So it's just something he's got to work on. But yeah, we get to the second half here. Man, I think like 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes of the start of the second half was really just kind of like a lull almost for the game, the way the first half was. A bit of back and forth. Fiorentina trying to push back, but ultimately pretty toothless from Fiorentina. Really not a whole bunch to touch on until, later on in the second half. And 66th minute, Dybala comes in for Higuain. We talked about Higuain and his lack of involvement in this one, but understandable. Just the way Fiorentina was playing it, and really took that pivot away from us completely, which is smart, because we know, again, when we start talking about some of the predictability surrounding Juve this year, that's one of them. We're going to play off of whoever's in that top role, right? 68th minute, we get a header from De Ligt, and he's lobbying for the handball. For me, on that one, no chance. Nah. And they were lobbying hard, and again, I'm just like, no chance on that one. 76th minute, after that initial little lull there and Fiorentina trying a little pushback, Juve ultimately started to finish off the way they started the match, dominating possession and whatnot. 76th minute, we get a great run from Bentancur. Referee calls PK on the challenge that ultimately took Bentancur down. Went to VAR review. They still give the penalty. Ronaldo steps up. He goes to the exact same spot. 2-0 Juve. The funny thing was, Drakowski, this goalkeeper, was talking about how he was studying Ronaldo and he knows how he shoots. I'm not going to mention anything in this interview in case Ronaldo reads it. Keep studying.
Because completely jinxed himself.
You know what? Sometimes even if like he guessed right on the first one, he's still not getting it. Like Ronaldo's hammering this thing side net, low and hard. Like even if that's tough to get to. But yeah, this PK, honestly, I would have been. I thought he was going to reverse the call, the PK. And not give it after looking back to it. The defender had position. I think what might have got him in trouble was his arm got pretty high on Bentancur. So maybe that's why. But ultimately, Bentancur kind of played himself out of it, and the defender had position. It was a tough one. What was your thoughts on that PK?
From the get-go, I thought it was a penalty, because you can't just throw your arm. I'm pretty sure he threw both arms in front of Bentancur to block the run. So it's obstruction. It completely blocked the run. But what got me questioning it, if it was going to be a penalty or not, was we had an incident in the first half where Ronaldo just blatantly got blocked off. He was running inside the box. The Fiorentina player,
yes,
I think it was Igor. I think that was his name.
Yeah, it was Igor.
He just stands in front of him and just goes, doesn't move.
I was just going to bring that up when we stop analyzing the Bentancur one. That I forgot about that one in the first half. We had the ball out wide. The cross did get played in, and Ronaldo was looking. And Igor was almost, it would look like he was playing basketball for a second because he wasn't even looking at the ball and he was just staring at Ronaldo and he like bear hugged him essentially.
Yep.
We didn't get the call and the announcers actually were saying like easily could have been given, but it wasn't. Yeah, this Bentancur one, back to the Bentancur one. Yeah, just I feel the defender, he cut it out, right? You got in position, but that arm, you just can't have that arm up and around the throat face area, and I think that's what ultimately did it, but I'll take it. 2-0 Juve. We got about 10 minutes to kill. Let's get out of this and bring it back to a 6-point lead and then go from there. But Bernardeschi ends up coming in for Costa, I believe, around 83rd minute. Yeah, there's not much remaining in the game, so you're not really going to get a whole lot of body of work to really gauge Bernardeschi in. Costa, though, it's going to be crucial for us to keep this guy healthy. Today, was it his best performance? Probably not, but he doesn't need to be at his best to still be effective, is what he shows. Yeah. And when we get into these modes, when teams park it on us, having that ability is huge because it's the difference between struggling and settling for crosses all game or being able to win a couple 1v1s and get it into a more dangerous spot, right? Again, I think the next breakthrough is ultimately just sorting out the proper use of the fullbacks and just being able to commit without fear. And just figuring out how we can get the most out of there while still maintaining a good balance of defense, especially on counterattacks. Matuidi ends up coming in for Rabiot. Fantastic. 7 minutes left in the match. Matuidi comes in to close it. Okay, that's how we use him. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, like close out matches. I'm fine with that.
I mean, you've got something to defend, so, I mean, that's what he can do. I mean,
yes.
His only use on the pitch is to be a defensive-minded player. In my view, that's how I look at Matuidi.
100%, yeah. 90th minute and a little in the stoppage. We get a corner. Dybala plays a very dangerous corner, and De Ligt, our golden boy, heads home, make it 3-0 finally for him. I like it. Solid. We finish the match. It's 3-0. I predicted 3-1 just because our little nasty situation about keeping clean sheets. But yeah, we win 3-0. Get the clean sheet. Is there still things to work on? Absolutely. People are really getting. Well, they were pretty critical in this match, just again because of the play in the final third. The chance creation. I think now that we have the proper midfield, at least we know what guys we're going to go in there. We have something to build off now. Do I think Sarri maybe waited too long to get there? Yeah, I think so. Would you agree with that, Graeme?
Well, I think the problem for Sarri, I think the problem began way back earlier on in the season when Douglas Costa got injured, that first injury, because we started off playing with a 4-3-3, and then as soon as Douglas Costa got taken out, I think that's when we started to switch to a 4-3-1-2. So we weren't playing with the wingers, and if you look back on Sarri's career, he played 4-3-3 with Napoli and Chelsea. He began it with Juventus, and then he just had to completely change his entire game plan when players got injured. So I think that hindered us. Obviously, we fell into the whole HDR thing, but it looks good on paper when you play those three up front, but it leaves you very exposed when a team starts to attack you. We've seen that. I mean, Matuidi's our only real out-and-out defensive-minded player, and he's just there to fill the space and cover for Ronaldo. But forward to cause his problems with his own team. So I think we're going to see progress if we stick with this formation, compared to what we were playing before.
Yeah. Well, and again, I don't think it's just solely formation, just because of the fact that it plays differently based on what guys are there. So I think like when Dybala's in there and you do see HDR, there's a lot of freedom there where he does like to drift out wide. So it still truly does play like a 4-3-3 rather than that 4-3-1-2. When we have Ramsey and Bernardeschi in there, it's so rigid. It's definitely a 4-3-1-2. They don't get out wide enough on either side. So it plays a lot differently. Costa, I think, I don't know if we should give him the same freedom to kind of drift wide. I think he's much more effective working on one sole wing. And it just keeps... We need to keep a little bit of space in that middle of the park there. So I kind of like him just working solely off that right like that. But
it's just when... sorry to cut you off there. It's just when you go wide down that right-hand side, you've effectively got two wingers coming at you with Cuadrado and Douglas Costa. So you're in two frame of mind. You're like, well, which one of these guys am I going to have to mark here? So I think that's why a 4-3-3 would be very effective for us going forward. But like Dybala is one of my favourite players. I love the guy. He's a luxury problem to have. He's a good problem to have. Just, whenever we've had that three up front, we saw it last season when we were doing that with Mandzukic, Ronaldo and Costa or Bernardeschi. It's just fitting him into that. He can play in the middle. He definitely can. It's just a flip of a coin, who's on the better form between him and Higuain. At least for me, anyway.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. But again, when you watch his performances this year, he has been playing off wide the way he kind of was trying to last year. But last year, he got switched to that box-to-box role. But offensively, he was always dropping back and wide. Now, this year, I think the only thing that's changed is he's got even more freedom where he's roaming to the left centrally and at wide out right. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's always something. I mean, I guess now it's in our heads because of what we believe based on what we saw last year is that he can't play out on the wing. But it's interesting. He's not your prototypical winger. But I don't know. It's been working, I think, just because of the chemistry between him and Higuain mostly. But even with Ronaldo, I mean, it works, right? The nice thing about when those three are out there is you almost lose the whole positional thing anyways because they're all just, there's so much movement when the three of them are out there. It's very, very expressive football. It's fun to watch, for sure. So it's interesting. But yeah, this performance, I was happy with it. I mean, should we have generated more chances? Yeah, we should have. But we still had a decent amount, and some of them pretty dangerous areas. But I still see quite a bit of positives. And that's what I'm kind of, I noticed, and that's what I hung on to, and maybe I'm just not as fired up as others because it's 3:30 a.m. So I don't really know, but I thought it was a good performance, and then I see people are ragging on them for the lack of chance created. Pjanic was getting destroyed in this one. I want to get your take on Pjanic's performance because he is getting ripped for this one, and I'm not sure I necessarily really agree in this particular match.
I mean, I don't know what people expect. We won 3-0, clean sheet, 3 points against a tough opponent. Brilliant. What is there to... If you're going to really complain, you're nitpicking. Let's be honest with it. But with Pjanic, I said earlier on, Fiorentina, they were constricting the space. They were very compact in defence. And it's okay for us to sit and watch on a TV screen and we can see the entire pitch from a bird's eye view. If you're Pjanic and you're bang in the middle of the pitch and you look up and all you see is purple shirts around you, purple shirts around Higuain, players like that, you're thinking to yourself, where the hell do I pass this ball to? I'll pass it to the side or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not entirely his fault. It's just, it's just easy to pick him out, if you know what I mean, because it doesn't, I'm trying to word this, it doesn't go as forward effectively as, say, like Rabiot will go forward, he'll have a shot and goal, something like that. Whereas Sarri looks at Pjanic and he expects him, you're my playmaker, don't go too forward, you can go forward a little bit, but your job is to pass the ball and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to play you every single game, and I want you to pass the ball certain number of times. I want you to touch the ball certain number of times. I mean, Sarri or Pjanic literally came out and said that at the beginning of the season. Sarri wants me to have this amount of touches every game.
Yeah. But does there come a time where Sarri's got to make a switch there or do something there? Because, you kind of did the same thing with Bernardeschi, where he just wrote it out till it just couldn't be denied anymore that he just cannot be in that trequartista role. And I think it was maybe 2 podcasts ago I just recently said, I don't think it really truly matters who you put in that trequartista role, but they will struggle because we don't play with any kind of width. So if we funnel everything into there centrally, we will struggle because it really makes it easier for a defense. It becomes super predictable. It's super narrow, and they can just close it off and eat it up, right?
Well, I mean, that was effectively the same problem Sarri had with Chelsea last season with Jorginho.
Yeah.
Opposition, they noticed that and they just targeted Jorginho all the time. They're like, this is a guy in midfield who's going to be passing the ball all the time. He's been wanting the possession. I'll just mark him out of the game. And effectively, that's what teams try to do against Pjanic. Sometimes they successfully do it.
Yeah. Well, and this is why I say, we need to sort out, the fluidity between Metsalas and the fullbacks. When we think back to that knockout match against Atletico when we overcame the deficit at home and we won 3-0. Brilliant move, but we held our Metsalas back and allowed the fullbacks freedom to push, and we were consistently pushing against Atletico's backline and generating crosses or whatever, but consistently getting the ball deep in the final third. And that's just what I think we need to get to, because the middle of the park play it's become congested. And it's hard. If anything, that will open it up, because now if you're widening it, the defense has to act accordingly. So it will naturally create space for, your midfielders and your forwards. But if we don't get wide enough, we're going to struggle. And today I actually thought it could have been better as far as overlaps, more and some more penetration, but it was decent. And we talked
it's a sign of progress, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's a sign of progress, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, right?
And we're going back to 4-3-3, and that's the way they're going to go with the overlapping fullbacks.
And we saw Bentancur, Rabiot, Pjanic having shots from the top of the area. We haven't seen that for a long time, but now they're getting up there, and there's progress there. There's progress being made. Should we be further ahead at this time of the year? That's a different discussion. And this is why I get to Sarri's stubbornness and whatnot with the whole Bernardeschi thing, and then definitely Matuidi being in there as so often in the calls and stuff. Should we be further ahead at this point in the season? In my opinion, I think we could be further ahead. That's my honest opinion. I think he's been stubborn with some positions and some roles. And I think we could have had it sorted earlier. What are your thoughts on that? Should we be further ahead at this point?
We should be slightly further ahead, I would say. We've had slip-ups. We had the awful game in the reverse fixture against Fiorentina last year. 0-0 it ended. Yeah. And that was just a horrendous game. But, that's a tough away day, so you can let that slide. But then we had, I can't remember the scoreline right now, but then we had the draw away to Lecce, and that just felt like a defeat. Drawing away to Lecce, we've got Inter Milan, catching up to us. They're not going anywhere. Can't drop points like this. And then we had, the Lazio game. That was that a league game? When we lost to Lazio?
Well, we lost.
It was a league game and the Supercoppa, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Supercopa was
Yeah.
one of them, and then in
So
the league, yeah, because it was two
so we
weeks
had
apart,
that.
and that
Yeah.
was to finish the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that
But
was
like
December.
the Lazio and the Napoli defeats were very hard to take, just performance-wise. You'd never want to see your team lose, but if your team's given it all and they were unlucky, fair enough. But they deserved to lose both those games, and that was a disappointing thing.
Well, this is a thing that gets me is lack of halftime adjustments in certain matches has stood out to me. I'm sorry. And that's why I say, should we be further ahead at this point? I mean, he's been stubborn with some of his things, but you also notice at halftime, there's things that you could see that are working and whatnot. And we never seem to go to it at that given time. And then you'll see it later on, like a few matches later, and it's like, it's something that I've noticed is that usually what you get from Sarri will be like one match in its entirety. I'm not seeing a lot as far as the halftime turnarounds or whatnot, even in matches where some struggling or we're not generating chances. Like there's never that, hey, this is what I've noticed or whatnot, and then all of a sudden like the dynamic of what we do changes. What we get is what we see is what we get like all the time, it seems, with Juve. Like it's just straightforward, like this is what's happening. So it'd be nice to see just different angles and whatnot. Early in the season, we saw a lot of different sequences of how we were going to build up play, how we were going to get into dangerous areas. That's kind of faded, which is strange to me. Because if anything, it should get better. You should build off those. You should have those now locked in and possibly be adding more sequences. But it's just strange. It's strange what's happened. But I think we're seeing progress with the proper guys in the midfield. Maybe that's why I was not as fired up about trying to pick apart this game and say that we're struggling, because I do see the progress. I see midfielders getting more advanced. I see us taking shots through midfielders. This one, again, we have to remember there's two teams fielded, and Fiorentina was trying to lock it down.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, that's a tough question. I see this coming up, and I see fans talking like that. Should we be further ahead now? In my opinion, yeah, but I don't think like it's miles ahead that we would.
Nah. I mean, we shouldn't be running away with it like we done last season. Not to that extent.
Yeah. Overall, this season, still, I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was last year. As far as watching the team play, I'm enjoying it much, much more. How do you feel about that statement, and do you share the same sentiments?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this season because there's competition everywhere. It's not like it's just a two-horse race. I mean, we've got Lazio in there as well.
Yeah.
No one expected Lazio to turn this into a three-horse race. However long that lasts, that's the way it is right now. 3 teams competing for the league title, and so far there's been no real easy games. Like every game's been tough, and you can see what Sarri's trying to do with Juventus. My only issue with him is that sometimes he looks like a guy that's stuck in the middle of the road and he doesn't know what to do. He's like, do I go with Sarri ball? Do I go with my Sarri ball, or do I be pragmatic and just get a win? It's like winning is all that matters. I think he's stuck in between those two mentalities sometimes, and I just wish he would just go all out Sarri ball. If you fall on the sword, make it your own sword that you're going to fall on.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why just things with when you talk about being pragmatic and whatnot, just having the balls to just let your fullbacks run wild and just get up that pitch, like get up there, make it happen, do it. Like Quadrado, you talked about it, you touched on it. It's literally like having 2 wingers attacking you when we have Costa and Quadrado out there. But let him run wild, let him go there. If it means holding Bentancur back to protect that side, then do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just make it happen. But in this match where Fiorentina has completely taken the middle off, make it happen. Let them run wild up the wing and force Fiorentina to try and shut that down. Because what are they going to do? They're going to have to commit more defenders. What's that going to do? Open up space for Higuain, who unfortunately was a victim of the circumstances today.
Yeah, too isolated.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I think, and this is, you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you're talking about it. Sorry being caught between two minds. I've said, all the things that we were excited to hear him say, in his interviews leading up to the season, and then even early on in the season, you're just like, that's the direction we need to be going. That's what we need to be seeing. But maybe, just maybe, he is starting to kind of be like, well, like, it's a tight race. Like, I want to get this, we want to win. Like, this guy offers me safety defensively and whatnot. And, maybe that's altering what he does. It's a possibility. But, yeah, I mean, overall, this season's been far more enjoyable than the last, you can even argue, two.
Yeah.
But it's good. We got a good race going on. Serie A, just in general, I find to be an extremely exciting league this year, especially. I've always followed Serie A, but it's just been awesome this year to watch. And it's nice that we have that competition because, if anything, it should help us with the complacency that sometimes I feel Juve falls victim to. Last year we ran away with it and we weren't even playing good, and maybe that played a big part in why we could never get up to that second, third gear even. So maybe having Merda on our ass is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, that was a problem for us last season. It was a problem in the first leg against Atletico Madrid. It was a problem overall against Ajax. And just for a comparison, like, when for complacency sitting in, look at PSG in France. They run away with the league.
Yeah.
People expect them, to be flying in the Champions League. They've got all these players, Mbappe, Neymar, such and such. But I don't think they go in against a Real Madrid or anyone of that status and they just fall because they're not used to that competition. They get too complacent, and that's what happened to Juventus last season, I feel. So if you've got Inter that's constantly chasing your heels, you can't slip up. You can't, go down a gear. You got to go all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think, honestly, having that race as tight as it, I think all it can do is help Juve. So, yeah. Let's talk, now that we've covered the match and some things, let's talk about, we'll talk about fans in general because, like I just said, and you touched on it too, it's been more enjoyable, but I've actually seen some fans jumping ship. And I've seen, not only because of play, because of all sorts of reasoning, and then obviously we have the social media aspect of it and what they comment on, what they don't, and there's just a lot of things playing in, and then people feeling that Juve is now just about the money and not necessarily the product on the pitch and the success and whatnot. And for me, I mean, I don't understand. We had one epic bandwagoner that actually jumped ship to Merda, and that's the funniest thing. He actually was a past guest. This one makes me laugh because he literally jumped ship for Conte, and I'm just like, this is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And you can't even at that point, in my eyes, call yourself a football fan, especially not a Juve fan, because, like, granted, if you liked somebody that much that you would want to support them, but it's Juve and it's Merda and it's post 2006. You have to be some type of fucked up to be thinking about doing that, and it's just funny. But just overall, in general, these fans jumping ship and over. For me, like, it would take so much. I don't even know what it would take for me to actually be able to even think right now about doing that point. It would have to be something completely disgusting, like, violating human rights to be even thinking about that. But, like, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I can't get my head around changing clubs or abandoning jumping ship, anything like that. I'm old school. I'm a long time Juventus fan. I didn't jump ship when they were relegated to Serie B in scandal. I didn't jump ship when Fulham were slapping us around in the Europa League. You know what I mean? And it's gonna take, like yourself, it's gonna take a lot for me to jump ship, because the way I see it is, you pick a club, you start supporting them, whether it's family reasons, you like the kit, you like the way they play, whatever. Once you pick that club, you support them, thick and thin, win, draw, lose, whatever. I mean, if I had any excuse to jump ship, I would have jumped ship in 2006. It's
exactly.
Like, screw this club. They're in Serie B. I don't want to watch Serie B. I want to watch Champions League. But you stick around because that's your team. You're connected to it in some way.
Yeah.
It feels like your club. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally hear what you mean. I'm the same. I'm old school, and I'm just thinking, these guys couldn't have been around in 2006. There's no way they would have lasted.
They would have jumped ship.
So I'm just like, I find it really, really funny. But that switch to Merda is just the funniest thing I've seen in a long, long time.
Well, on the subject of that, like, I don't agree with it, but I get it. I understand, like, Messi, Ronaldo fanboys, and I will give them, well, in Ronaldo's case, I will give them credit. When he played for Real Madrid, they followed Real Madrid, they supported Ronaldo. He left Real Madrid and they followed him to support him at Juventus. They don't support Juventus, they support Ronaldo. But just from going from, like, just thinking it's easy to go Real Madrid, 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Screw Ronaldo, I'm staying here. Juventus, they can't win Champions League finals. I'll just stay over here and I'll just be like, I used to like Ronaldo. But, they followed him. I know who you're talking about. With the Conte fan, right? So he was a Juventus fan last season. He was on your podcast.
Yeah.
And then he jumped ship to support Inter and Conte. Well, why wasn't he supporting Conte when he was at Chelsea?
Exactly.
Beforehand. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
like, well, why didn't you jump ship with Conte when he went to the national team and then he went to Chelsea? You know what I mean?
I don't even consider these guys fans, like, at all.
I can't take them seriously. I just can't.
No. And I apologize now to everybody that he wasted an episode on the All JuveCast, because that's just not the kind of fans we need out here. They're not fans. I mean, if you're gonna do it, to jump ship for a coach is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Because even if your thought was Juve should have added him as a coach at all costs, they didn't. So that's not a reason to abandon your club because they didn't hire a guy that you personally felt should be the coach. Why not give an opportunity? It's funny to me. It's funny to me, the whole thing. But and then on the opposite side, we talk about even just this match today. You have fans, still pretty frustrated and whatnot, and I get it. And then you have fans that are looking at it in the positive angle, and we have this labeling that goes through our fan base where you have one sector calling a set of fans like cheerleaders, whatnot, and then you have another, and then the other sector is doomsday Juventini, and I'm just thinking, I see it from both angles. I totally understand it, but we talked about it, like Bernardeschi, Ramsey, Matuidi. When you see the same things that aren't working, and literally the definition of insanity is trying the same thing, repeatedly and expecting different results. I totally understand the frustration, and I've vented my frustrations. Sometimes I'm labeled as that doomsday Juventino or whatnot, but I'm just being honest, and I totally understand the frustrations, and it's literally at some points enraging to watch the same things over and over. So I totally get it. I see it on both sides. Sometimes there are people that go a little too far with the negativity, and that's why we bring up this jumping ship and stuff. And when you start insulting the club and whatnot, like, that's a little overboard. Criticisms, I feel, are completely normal. right? There's nothing wrong with criticizing moves that clubs you. That doesn't make you a doomsday Juventino because you don't agree with everything. It's just saying, hey, you got a mind of your own. You're sharing your opinion. It doesn't line up with the club. That's fine. On the opposite side, I feel sometimes the positive people are just a little too positive, where they just like, oh, oh yeah, we won 3-0, whatever, I'm out of here. Yeah, but you didn't deserve that win. It was like, honestly, the other team could have scored 5. You know, like we've seen a lot of those matches. Like almost last year, Serie A was a cakewalk, and probably about 80% of those wins were undeserved. Like a high percentage were undeserved wins. So they're just like, oh, take the result. Yeah, but, take the result when you don't deserve it. And it's not getting any better. There's no progress. It's frustrating. That's frustrating too, right? You're getting the results, but there's no progress. There's nothing, not a lot of positives outside the result that you're seeing, and you're not seeing the team grow. So I get it from both angles, but I don't know. I guess if you had to label me, I'd probably fall somewhere
in the middle.
I'd like to think in the middle, but a little more towards, sometimes it comes off as a doomsday, but I'm honestly just waiting for the progress. I feel, we talked about it too, I feel we should be further ahead. I think we've had a talented squad. Everybody wants to talk about the midfield. Yeah, it's been neglected for a bit, but I don't think our midfield is as bad as everyone makes it out to be. I think it's just putting together the whole package, right?
Yeah. It's nowhere near as garbage as a lot of people tried to make out. It's like, if we're that garbage, why are we top of the league? If we're that garbage, why are we unbeaten in the Champions League right now? I mean, Atletico Madrid are no mugs. And Moscow is, like, Russia is a tough place to go away as well.
Yeah.
It's not like we beat a bunch of young boys in Copenhagen and, like, all those kind of teams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not as bad as it gets made out. And life as a football fan is far from perfect. You got to take it game from game. I mean, look back at this season. We were phenomenal against Inter. I mean, that was one of the best goals I've seen all season. Like, all those passes, and it was just brilliant to see. So the team is capable of that. For whatever reason, it dipped quite quickly after that. I think it was November we had a really bad spell. The team was playing poorly, but we're still winning games. And you're watching it and you're thinking to yourself, hang on here, how did we go from outplaying Inter on their own ground to this? So the team is capable of that. It's just figuring things out and fitting the pieces together. I mean, look at, I'll just quickly mention them because I don't like mentioning this club's name, anything related to Juventus. Liverpool. When they signed all those players, like, Mane, Van Dijk, Robertson, all these players that everyone's going, they're world class, they're phenomenal, they're so good. They were nobody before they signed them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that structure, tactics and plan, like Klopp built an entire team. Starting 11, he built an entire team to implement his entire plan. Sarri's only been with us for a few months, and he's got to work with what he's got, which isn't the worst. Yeah. If it was as bad as people make it out, we wouldn't be chasing 9 league titles in a row. We wouldn't have won all the games that we've won. You don't get that lucky. Maybe in the Champions League, but not in the league.
Yeah. And this is, now we get into, when we talk about Doomsday Juventini, the positive side. And it's literally the direction that Juve is going in. What is that? Like, when you try and break that down, it's so hard. Like, it's hard to understand a lot of the moves this club makes. And then we get into these contract extensions that blow your mind, like, why they're doing that. So then these people that are staying positive all the time, and it's just like, well, it's hard to do that when you see the club making a lot of these moves that now, currently, we start to see us being handcuffed because of them. And then when you factor in certain guys not delivering to the level that's expected on the pitch, it starts to stir up that negativity. Here we have guys that are paid quite a bit of money that are not producing on the pitch. And then we want to add guys and we're not adding them because we can't, because we're handcuffed financially or stuck into these deals. And then we can't sell. And why can't you sell? Because the world knows that where your position is and that you're stuck. Yeah. So you're not going to get as good a deal as you want because they know you have to sell them. There's so much of this. And I think sometimes all that plays into the negativity regarding matches because it's literally these other players that are there that you're just like, man, and you see it a lot of time, you hear it. It's just not Juve caliber. And honestly, a lot of the times I tend to agree. So I can totally understand that. And I think that's where a lot of the negativity towards performances comes from. So you have that group of fans that don't look at it that way. And they're just like, hey, we got the win. Like, be happy. It's like, no, we're happy for the win. But it's frustrated that it was such a grind because we had to deal with this player where we could have a much more effective player out there. And we can't do that. The other thing is the age, like just the average age of the club and not being able to inject enough youth and get that integrated into the club. And I brought that question up too. And it's like, how come we have this belief that you can't develop youth and win at the same time? Like, it's just something I don't believe in. But, we talk about these extensions. Blaise Matuidi, prime example. He comes up with his extension. Yeah. I had a conversation with someone on Twitter where they were justifying him staying based on leadership, mentoring. They even talked about Khedira. They talked about the interview Bentancur had where he spoke to Khedira being his mentor about him scoring 7 to 8 or whatever goals every season and how he gets those areas in the box and working with him. And people are like, you need that on club. Okay, if you need that, what the hell is your coaching staff doing? Number one. Number two, if you want him to do that, hire him as a staff member. Because he's taking a spot away from a player that could be much more effective on the pitch. And his primary role as a player is performance on the pitch, not a mentor. We have a ton of leadership on the club, but if you're solely looking at keeping guys on this roster for that, we have a problem. We do. We have a problem if that's the sole reason why you're keeping these guys. Blaise Matuidi, leadership, mentor, what he's been through, winning World Cups and stuff, ultimately doesn't change the fact when I look at this club, he is quite a bit down the pecking order as far as the depth chart, in my opinion. I want to get your thoughts on this whole Blaise Matuidi extension thing and just how we handcuff ourselves notoriously. And Khedira, Matuidi and Khedira came up in the same conversation. And then that Bentancur interview led to it. What are your thoughts on people saying that?
Well, my problem with this is, and it's always been a problem for me, I've said it before in past conversations and probably with yourself, the team is getting too old and all the players are getting old at the same time. We've got Ronaldo, he's phenomenal, no criticism, right? But still, he's 34, whatever it is. He's an aging player, he's world class, phenomenal, but it's not going to last forever. Maybe 2 more seasons, who knows? We've got Higuain, he's in his 30s. Got Khedira, Matuidi, both of them in their 30s. I think they're 32. Chiellini, legend, love the guy, injury prone. I think he's in his mid-30s as well. We've got quite a few players that are going to be coming to the end of their career at the same time. And we can't get rid of them. So we can't replace them. Because no one will buy them. And no one will pay them the wages that Juventus are already paying them. It's a no-brainer. I mean, look how we struggled to get rid of Mandzukic. I mean, that's another player that I love. I was defending him last season, but he had to go. He was on big wages. The club had no intention of keeping him, and no one in Europe wanted to match his wages. So he's not even playing in Europe anymore. So that's an issue we've got.
Yeah. I mean,
and I don't mind Matuidi. I'm not like a hater or anything like that, but
No,
he's limited. He's very limited. He's there for a defensive aspect to the midfield, and that is it.
exactly. And the thing is he's currently making, I believe, 3.5. They talked about this extension would take him below that. I'm fine with that. Honestly, like if we were going to keep him along and pay him less than that, like that's okay. I'd be fine for that as long as we use him the way we have been lately, which is closing out matches. You have something to defend, you bring him on. Fine with that. If we're going to start him at the start of a match, push him up the pitch into the final third, and hope that there's offense coming at the other side of it, I'm not okay with that.
He shouldn't go forward.
Khedira hit the ground running at the start of the year. He looked like a different guy. But then it just like quickly faded into these invisible performances where he was just out there, you saw him moving around, but he'd get the ball and it would take forever for him to release it. It was tough. And Emre Can, we just closed the deal. And the reason I get to Emre Can is because he's like Khedira 2.0.
Even looks like the man.
What's that?
He even looks like the man.
Oh, yeah.
They look like twins.
I was just like, holy smokes. Anyways, yeah, we get Emre Can, Khedira 2.0. Younger, faster. But on the pitch, Emre Can couldn't establish himself with Juve. No. We literally talk about that performance against Atletico. That was a great performance. But it was a different role than what we actually need and what we need this season. But I kind of touched on it earlier. I think we might need to look at that in order to get the fullbacks fully involved. He might have been the guy if we were doing that way, but we haven't reached that point. We needed to start correcting some financials. The problem I have with the deal, the only problem I have with the deal is that the money's delayed. So we don't actually get it till the summer. And so I don't think it actually goes towards this fiscal year, which kind of sucks. But it's a good deal. We ultimately get close to 30 mil on it for a guy we brought in on a free and wasn't fitting in. And he was speaking negatively about not being on the Champions League list and all that. And he had a couple opportunities to prove otherwise afterwards, and he didn't really take them. So you got to move on at that point. Fans are frustrated with Matuidi and Khedira still being here, us getting rid of Can, but we literally have no choice with Khedira because we won't have an out. We screwed ourselves with that extension. Nobody will be getting him. Like, I was shocked when there was interest apparently from Arsenal in the summer, and I thought, holy Christ, if they do that, amazing. Like, let's do it. Seal this deal, have him off, amazing. But I don't think we will. I don't think there'll be a deal made there. And Emre Can, he couldn't establish himself. He was talking bad. He had opportunities. He just couldn't do it. So for me, I don't see him fitting into our system whatsoever. He's technically better than a guy like Blaise Matuidi, on the ball, but he doesn't have enough pace with the ball. His decisions are a little bit slower to be made, and I just don't think it fits Sarri's system whatsoever and what Sarri wants. So I'm okay with it. Your thoughts on Emre Can's deal?
Well, the best way I can describe it is, once I knew that deal was going through, I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered either way. I wasn't delighted. I wasn't furious, livid at it. End of the day, Emre Can had to go. He just had to for financial reasons. It wasn't part of the plans for the team. He wasn't even in the Champions League squad. If you're left out of the Champions League squad, and we all like to say, the number one target is Champions League. We must win that. We are in a win it now moment. And you don't include him in that squad. So that tells you everything you need to know. He wasn't wanted by the club. He was on big ways. He had to go. And you can't sell Matuidi or Khedira because nobody wants him. on those wages anyway. They don't want to add those wages to their wage bill. And the wage structure at Juventus, they needed to address that. And they needed to get players sold in January. That was the target. That was a priority for last month in that transfer window. Get guys off the squad you don't need and you don't want. And I think we've done that. I think we've done a brilliant job of that.
Yeah. The issue that got a lot of fans fired up was the fact that there was 0 additions in the winter window. Guys like Eriksson went to Merida. We couldn't pick up Haaland on a cheap deal and whatnot. And there's just no additions whatsoever. I expected it.
Same.
I expected it, so maybe that's why I wasn't upset about it. Did I want some additions? Well, sure. I mean, who wouldn't want additions? It's got to fit the bill. It's got to make sense. Eriksson, I did want Juve to go after him. It's a cheap price. His salary is higher, but again, we were handcuffed. We couldn't take it on because we
spent big in the summer.
Yeah, we did. We put our chips into this other basket, and it's wrong. But those decisions are kind of screwing us over a bit lately. We need to right the ship, and this model of bringing guys on freeze but paying these high salaries is
exactly
it's backwards business model, right?
I mean Ramsey and Rabiot, free transfers, but they're not cheap. They're on big wages, player fees, agent fees. They're not free. You just omit a transfer.
The transfers are free, but they're on high salaries, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, here comes a guy like Eriksson who literally plays a role that we have nobody that can play, and we're trying to play that formation. Like, he's trying to go 4-3-1-2. You need a number 10. We don't have a true guy that fits into that trequartista role. Here's a guy that's played it for many years effectively, who could probably assist us. And worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, he could slide into our midfield in one of those other roles, no problem. And we can't take it. And he ended up selling for 16 million. His wages are around 10, but we can't take that on. We've got Sammy at 6. Emery Chan was at 5.5, I believe, around that. We brought in Ramsey and Rabiot, both at 7. Rabiot with an extra 2 in bonuses or something. Take it. So it's a lot. We just couldn't. So some of these other deals are kind of hurting us. And I mean, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and let guys walk. Not extend the contract for the sake of that. We've been talking about this more and more over these last few podcasts, and it might sound repetitive, but it's the truth. And now we're seeing all these other actions. So as fans get, upset about, we got no additions, you really got to understand that the thing
money's
that we
not
keep
there.
hammering home, this is why is all these moves, right? So it is what it is. There's no additions. I totally expected it. It sounds like Bernardeschi will be utilized in the midfield. I'm okay with that. What's your thoughts with us using Bernardeschi in a midfield role?
Well, he has to play somewhere. He's been largely ineffective behind the front two, whoever it is.
Yeah.
He's not, Douglas Costa's going to be out wide. Ronaldo's going to be out wide. There's no position for him there. If you want to fit him into the team, get him into the middle three. Because that's all we can play, because Dybala or Ramsey are better options than him for the behind the front two.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying he isn't technically gifted enough to be in the middle there or whatnot, but I still see him higher on the order than a couple of those other guys. Like, you can't tell me Blaze is more technically gifted than Bernardeschi, no. So he's at least higher than him on the role, and he's definitely higher than Khedira on that role for me because he's got a way better engine and motor, so quicker legs, quicker. Yeah, it just, I don't know. I like Bernardeschi when we see him as a Metsala. I actually like what he offers out of that role. I'm okay with it. But yeah, this is kind of where we're at right now. It's a tough little transition. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for us to right the ship as far as financials go. But, maybe hopefully this Matuidi thing is an indication that they're starting to figure it out. I hope.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we will extend you, but it's going to be at a reduced offer. He's already at 3.5, which is pretty low. But yeah, we'll do it at a reduced. Okay, well, then I'm all right with it, because he does his role. He is very effective in it, when it comes to shutting down, just winning the ball. He's good at that. That's all he needs to do.
As long as that's all he does,
yeah.
I'm fine with him in the squad.
Exactly, and that's all he needs to do. We just need to play him in that role and pay him accordingly, which would be less than that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But I'm not okay when we throw 6-7 million around on guys and extend their contracts for years, and years. And then we miss out on the young guys. So, it's just, that's the kind of stuff I'm not okay with. But where I want to finish up with is, let's say, who would be your priorities for Juve? And not factoring in financial stuff like that, but like, who's your priority for Juve in the summer that you would like? If you were in charge, this is who you make moves for. Give me like 2 if you want three guys.
I'm trying to think of names. Because we
me,
definitely need a fullback.
For me,
definitely need a fullback in.
Sandro Tonali is for sure for me. We have to pick up a young kid like that. Every time I watch him play, it's just unreal. Like speed, pace, agility, the vision, passing. He looks incredible. If we can get him around what's reported at the 40 to 50 mil mark, we have to. Like, it seems like a no-brainer for Juve.
Fullbacks. As an added bonus on Tonali, when it comes to Champions League squads, he's young and then he's Italian, so he's going to hit your home-based player.
Exactly.
You got to have a certain amount of home-based players in your squad, and he would hit that. And he's actually good enough to play in the starting 11.
Yeah, he's enough to crack our lineup. No question. Fullbacks, I think Telles would be a good one for Juve. On the right side, do we just stick it out with Cuadrado? Like, it's for fans. Like, he's been performing well, but it's still not good enough, is what you get out of most fans.
Yeah.
Danilo, I've said it. I think Danilo, you can tell mentally what he's thinking, what he's trying to accomplish is the right thing. He's always doing the right thing. It's just the execution that kind of bites him in the ass sometimes.
I just don't know how to feel about Danilo. It's kind of mess with him.
He's just kind of that guy. Like, when I watch him, like, he wants to do the right thing. He's constantly, like, you could see even in build up whatnot, it doesn't always pan out that way execution wise.
Yeah.
But, defensively though, he's pretty stout. Like, he does his job defensively. He's pretty good. So I really don't have any problems with him. Luca Pellegrini, we should be recalling on loan. So,
yeah.
If Pellegrini comes in, then Telles would kind of be off the mark. But here's the thing. You can get a lot of money for Sandro. So, if we were to get Telles, who's apparently at a pretty reasonable rate, so if we could sell Sandro and make good money, it might be a move to, say, sell Sandro, get quite a bit in capital, right?
Yeah.
Bring in Telles. You're recalling Pellegrini from loan. Get those two guys, be a lock at left back, and then you'll have an additional set of money that you could put elsewhere in the team. And maybe you tough it out at right back with Cuadrado and Danilo since they're still on the books. Maybe you go another year that way. Maybe you use some of that money off a Sandro sale to right back.
You would get a lot of money for Sandro. You definitely would.
Yeah, and do we make them look? I see Sandro, and I just think back to that one year when he was just incredible, and I haven't seen anything close to it. Defensively, he is a monster. He's great defensively.
Yeah.
But there's a lot lacking offensively, and we might need more offensively out of our fullback positions. So I don't know. Like, I would be okay with it. And what I see out of Pellegrini, I like him. When I think back even to last year, Spinazzola, in my mind, like, beat Sandro at his spot. Spinazzola beat Sandro to his spot. He was great. I was sad to see Spinazzola leave. But again, handcuffed because of moves, right? But what's your thoughts? Would you sell Sandro?
Well, he's a good player, but it doesn't look like, you can't do without him in a squad. If you could replace him, it's not like, it doesn't feel like you're watching an out-and-out world-class fullback when you watch him. He was phenomenal in his debut season, and you're watching him and you're going, but was it his debut? It wasn't his debut season.
I think
it was
the
season
second.
after.
Yeah.
The run to the Champions League final. That was the season where you look at this guy and you think, oh, we've got a gem here. But then he just tailored off for whatever reason, and he's never really returned to that form. So you could do without him if you replace him. But knowing the way Juventus operate, they would probably put De Sciglio as a first team regular.
Well, that deal fell through too. They
Yeah.
apparently had the deal signed for De Sciglio and Kurzawa, and Kurzawa does play right back too, right?
Does he? I thought he was only a left back.
Is he left back?
Yeah, because that was my reasoning for keeping De Sciglio was he can play left back, right back, so he's good for cover. When someone gets injured, he's going to be available if he's not injured.
Yeah.
But Kurzawa is on big
was...
wages, and he could only play left back as far as I'm aware.
So I had asked around because I wasn't quite certain about Kurzawa or anything like that, and I was told that he could offer the same, but if he can't, then that makes all the sense in the world. I would have done the same. I would have kept De Sciglio because it's nice to have that cover both ways. And then you factor in De Sciglio being there too. Maybe you don't make a move for right back, but maybe you do sell a guy like Sandro, make some money, because he would still draw a pretty penny, and you bring in Telles, and then you have Telles and Pellegrini on the left. You've got De Sciglio, Danilo, and Quadrado all out of the right. Do what you want there, but we get some capital and we could continue to bolster midfield, spend some attention there. But Tonali's on good wages. Then you got, or on a good financial to bring in. If it's 40-50 mil, I'm totally fine with that. Maybe Zaniolo, sad knee injury for him, but upon his recovery, there's a kid.
He looked a really good player.
Yeah, he'd be fantastic, right? And then you're looking at bringing these guys in at not these prices, right? Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, when it was 110 mil last year, and everybody was saying Juve needs to get him, and I'm just like, I was saying I don't know, because I'm not I think he's a great player. I just don't think.
Not that price.
I would much rather spend the lesser dollars, bring these guys in, start to restore Juve's ties to the Azzurri, and pay less, have guys that are going to get, smaller wages. Milinkovic-Savic was on a small wage, so even doubling it, he would have been small. He would have been like 4 mil a season. That would have been almost triple what he was making. He's at 1 point something. You're almost quadrupling his pay. But still that fee is huge. It's huge, and it's on a young guy, and you'd be committed because you're not going to make anything after that.
Nah, no profit.
Yeah, so it's just if it doesn't work out, you're pot committed, this is it, right? Whereas if you're pulling in these young guys, Tonali, we missed out on Sensi and Barella, in my opinion, not adding one of those two, but you take them in, those are pretty small wages, good transfer fees, and if it doesn't work out, you can recoup with those guys because they still have so much left as far as playing time goes, right? But it's just
there's always going to be sell-on value for a younger player.
Yeah.
So that's a positive.
Exactly, right? And that's why we start to get ourselves in trouble, is just the freeze and the age of the guys that we're bringing in, right? But we'll see. I've been really, really happy with Rabiot lately, and just the progress he's made. He had a little bit of a spell there where he struggled after being one of our shining spots in the preseason. Had a little bit of a lull, but he's been fantastic.
I think he just had to get used to playing football again. So he didn't play at all for PSG, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, for sure. But no, it's been great to see. Ramsey hasn't been able to establish himself. I hope that changes. Everybody knows what he's capable of. It's just trying to get it work with us, right? So before we kind of wrap up, we'll just have a little bit of fun here, and we'll say, what would be your best 11 in, say, a one-off match right now currently with Juve? And what formation would you play as well?
I would like to go with the 4-3-3, just because that's been Sarri's main formation. That's his go-to. So I think we should stick with that. No-brainer, Szczesny in goal. Like, big on up the guy, legend, but Szczesny's, just look at the saves the guy's pulling off.
Hey,
Brilliant.
You know what's funny? I was watching it, and I don't know what's with this announcer, but everybody was saying, I was like, why are they saying he's saying Sir Szczesny? He pronounces it, and then I was watching the game. I had the same announcer. He's not saying Sir Szczesny. He's pronouncing the S before he actually says Szczesny. I just say it all in one, Szczesny, but he says Sir Szczesny. And it comes off as he's saying sir, and I just thought it was hilarious, because I was always wondering what fans were talking about on Twitter. What are they talking about, Sir Szczesny? Who's Sir Szczesny? And then I heard the announcer. I finally got a feed where he was commentating. I was laughing. It was pretty funny. So you got Sir Szczesny in goal. Yep,
that one, the one and only. Alexandro is a left back, because he's the best left back available. I would go with... This is a tough one with the centre backs. With everyone fit, I would go with Bonucci, Chiellini, and it's tough to pick because De Ligt, awesome young talent. He's shown that he's world class. Well, he's gonna be truly world class. Demiral, you just love to see the guy defending, and he's so aggressive. He can be overly aggressive sometimes, but you need that in your team somewhere. So you can't really lose with those four to pick from. But it's just for, because I'm more familiar with Bonucci, Chiellini. I would go with, I struggled with this a little. Cuadrado is the right back. Because I was thinking about it, and I was going so who will I put at right back? I've got Cuadrado, Danilo, and possibly De Sciglio. So you're thinking to yourself, you're like, well, he's been the best right back we've got this season. He's really surprised me. Danilo's hit and miss. He's probably better defensively than Cuadrado, but Cuadrado just offers you so much more going forward. De Sciglio, he's okay. It is what it is, I would go with Rabiot, Pjanic, and Bentancur in the midfield, because, like you said it yourself, I think that's our best midfield from what we've got. Matuidi. If Matuidi just stayed in midfield and stayed away from attacks, I'd be fine with him.
like way.
Yeah. Because he just gets in the way. I remember he got in the way of a Ronaldo header from a corner or a cross. I remember it was coming straight for Ronaldo, and Matuidi just jumped up and he went for it, and he missed the target, and Ronaldo's standing there thinking, what are you doing? No point even mentioning last week with that cross. So he's out of the team.
Yeah.
And Khedira, he can be good, but I would just prefer more youth in that midfield, more engine, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the front three would be Ronaldo out wide as a left winger, and obviously he's not going to stay there. He's going to cut inside and stuff like that. Douglas Costa on the right, and in the middle, it's a flip of a coin between Dybala and Higuain, whoever's on top form, but I would go with Dybala right now because he's got more of a free role. He can roam around the pitch if he wants to, whereas Higuain's he's more he's your classic 9, like target man. He's up there as a striker, but he does do defensive work. I got to give him credit. There's times when you've half getting a ball or intercepting, and you're thinking, that's number 21. That's Higuain.
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
Yeah.
But that's what I would go with, because, like, I love the idea of Higuain, Dybala, and Ronaldo up front. I just think it's too lopsided on attack, especially if I've fallen out with him right now. Especially if Matuidi's not in the midfield.
Yeah.
And I don't want Matuidi in my midfield, so that's what I would go with.
Yeah. I got a question for you. Once Chiellini returns, and then we have Bonucci, Chiellini, Rugani, De Ligt, would you be up for seeing a 3-4-3? And that would allow us to push more width up the field, still have your 3 forwards, support the midfield with 3 great backs, right?
Yeah.
It would have been fantastic if we also still had Demiral for backup as well. Only having one other center back kind of makes it skinny. But is it something what would your thoughts be on a 3-4-3 once Chiellini returns?
I mean, it sounds like a good idea. I mean, you're overloading the midfield, and you're just, if you're attacking an opponent, they're going to be scared shitless looking at that. With all those offensive players coming at them. My only concern would be possibly being vulnerable to a counter attack. But it's a good idea, and I'm just laughing to myself right now, because when I was picking my starting 11 and I was talking about the centre backs, I completely forgot about Rugani.
Yeah,
completely forgot.
So Rugani still stayed there, and I think solely the reason we didn't sell this window was just because of the injury to Demiral. And to be honest, thank God that they didn't pull a deal and say Demiral's injury happened after the fact, and then we were still waiting for Chiellini to come back, because then it's like no cover for quite some time, and who knows what's going to happen, right? But I don't know. I think that 3-4-3 would be pretty interesting. Maybe having Bonucci, as that middle, and he can kind of move the ball forward and be that passing pivot. You would have 2 central midfielders in which you could rotate whoever you wanted in there out of Rabiot, Pjanic, Bentancur, honestly, if we were going to play 2 that way, I wouldn't use Bernardeschi in one of those roles. Bernardeschi could be used out as one of the wingers. On the outsides there, you could have Sandro, you could have Quadrado. This would offer them the support to move forward, having 3 central backs behind. It's just, I find it interesting. I want to get fans' opinions. I'll probably put a question out here on Twitter and just see what people think. But I was thinking about it, and I thought it could be pretty interesting. Would we ever see it? I don't think Sarri would ever do it. I think it's too late in the year now to experiment with it, especially once Chiellini is back, because it'll be March sometime. And it'll just be too late in the season. But I started thinking about that, and it's interesting. I mean, maybe should we have started it earlier in the year when we had Demiral, De Ligt, Chiellini, Bonucci, and maybe attempted it? Could have been argued, but he maybe didn't know exactly what he had with Demiral. Demiral's emergence once he started, because it took him quite some time to start getting minutes, and then it was just like he became this lock in the lineup.
I mean, it's a good idea, the formation. I'm assuming when Juventus are out of possession, it would revert to a back 5. Yeah, because you would have your wing backs, going up and down. So that could work. Yeah, it's a good idea though.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, right? I think this year we won't see it, but I mean,
too late in the season.
Yeah, but next year, I mean, that could be something to maybe work off of, right? It'd be interesting to see. But yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for sharing your best 11 here. As we wrap up, just for fun, Ronaldo MVP for the month of January. He's been with us a short time so far, but what's your favorite Ronaldo moment so far? And I really like what you touched on with the fanboys too. It is a good point. I mean, they could have easily stuck with a club like Madrid, but they actually didn't, and they've followed him, stuck with him his career, and now, granted, whether we agree with or not how they're supporting Juve, or if you even call it supporting Juve, a lot of it isn't support, but they have stuck with him. I'll give them that. But yeah, what's your favorite Ronaldo moment so far?
Immediately, the Atletico Madrid second leg comes to mind. He scores that goal, goes to the corner. Was it after the goal or after the game? Goes up to the corner. We all know what he'd done to the Atletico Madrid fans.
Yeah.
But it was just, from 2-0 down, and even with Cristiano Ronaldo, you're thinking, I get it, it's Ronaldo. He's got this phenomenal goal-scoring record in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid. We're still screwed.
Yeah.
And hat-trick. Phenomenal.
That game was insane. It was insane. But yeah, that's got to be it's got to be one of them up there. Small little, moments probably when he shared the celebration with Dybala, and did the Dybala
cool.
mask / Sue. Like it was pretty sweet. That was pretty cool. Getting back to the fanboys, I might actually reach out and have a Ronaldo fanboy as a guest, but it's got to be one that can actually carry discussion without the ridiculousness that follows. I have one in mind. I think we all know who it is because he's actually really, really good when it comes to breaking down games.
Well, there is one Ronaldo, call it what it is. There is one Ronaldo fanboy that I actually don't mind. I think he's pretty good. You can actually have a conversation instead of a silly petty argument.
And I think we've got the same guy in mind, and I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to have him as a guest, hopefully, if he accepts, and it'll be cool to see his take since he's followed him his whole career and just what he sees, what he thinks, and he's actually good at having the discussions and doesn't take it overboard like many of them do. And it's not just Ronaldo.
Everything,
It's not just Ronaldo, it's Messi ones as well. They do the same thing. They just get carried away. And then you see the unfortunate events with Kobe Bryant there last weekend, and it's like, take the time to really enjoy the fact that we're watching two of the best ever at the same damn time. Like,
we're never going to see that again in our lifetimes.
Yeah, it's
that's not going to happen.
Just crazy. But Ronaldo, quickest to 50 for Juve, 9-game streak, third time in his career. He's absolutely on fire. That's what we need. I hope it carries on from now until June. Like, let's go. Yeah. Graeme, thanks again for joining me. It's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
We will do it again. Juventini, we're back up. We're 6 points ahead. Let's wait and see what happens after the rest of the fixtures. And I'll be coming back after next week's match. And I actually need to see, because I forgot who the opponent was. Who are we facing next week? We've got Verona, I believe. Yeah, Hellas Verona will be the next match. And then we will go from there. I believe after that, it's Coppa Italia semifinals, first leg against AC Milan with their 75-year-old signing, Zlatan. He's not 75.
Ibrahimovic.
What's that?
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah. He's not 75, I know, but his body looks like it. But no, that'll be good. Good round of fixtures. So Hellas coming up next week. Be back with another podcast. Also, I put a couple posts out there. I got some big news coming as far as some changes going on, and I can't wait to share with you all. So please keep posted. It's going to be good things. I've been working on it for a while, and hopefully all you Juventini like it. But stay tuned. As always, until then, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.